Psalm 121 tells you to focus your attention on one place from where you get help. I get help from the one who made us. That is, my attention is always focused on the Almighty God, who does not let us move from our goal. He always shows us new ways to reach our goal. The one who is your protector is also the protector of Israel. He never gets tired, never stops, never sleeps. His eyes are always fixed on you. The Lord will protect you from any disaster and will also protect your soul. Whether you are inside the house or going out somewhere, even then God will protect you. In this psalm, the Lord has made many promises to you. To know about those promises, I am going to pray a powerful prayer with you in your name, in the name of Jesus. To get its blessings, keep the windows of your heart and mind open. My dear friends, watch the video till the end. It is told in Psalm 121, "That one I will fix my eyes on the mountains. Where will my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. Your protector will never slumber. The protector of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your protector. The Lord is your shelter at your right hand. The sun by day, nor the moon by night will harm you. The Lord will protect you from all harm. He will guard your life. The Lord will protect you in your going out from now and forever." In the opening verses of Psalm 121, the psalmist begins by lifting his eyes to the hills, a metaphorical expression that speaks to the challenges and dangers that lie ahead. The hills, in ancient times, could symbolize places of danger or even pagan idols. But the psalmist, in contrast, recognizes that his help comes not from the hills, but from the Lord, the creator of the heavens and the earth. It's a profound acknowledgement that true help, rescue, and strength are found not in earthly resources, but in the Creator who made all things. The psalmist places his trust in the one who holds the universe in his hands, knowing that God's power and sovereignty far exceed any human or earthly aid. This declaration points us to the reality that no matter what we face, we can look beyond our immediate circumstances and find our hope in the Creator. Whether we face trials, uncertainties, or even physical dangers, we can have confidence that the same God who created the heavens, the earth, and everything in it is the one who is on our side. God is not only the creator of the vast universe, but also our personal help, available and willing to step into our lives in times of need. The psalmist's words serve as a reminder to all who may feel lost or overwhelmed. When everything else seems uncertain, our help comes from the Lord. God is the ultimate source of rescue, and He is fully capable of guiding and protecting us through life's difficulties. In verses 3 and 4, the psalmist offers a beautiful picture of God's protective care, emphasizing that God is constantly watching over us and guiding us with unwavering attention. The verse begins with a comforting promise: "He will not allow your foot to slip." This is more than just a simple statement about physical stability. It's a declaration of God's faithful presence in our lives. No matter how uncertain or challenging the path ahead may seem, God is in control, ensuring that we are not left to stumble or fall. When life feels rocky, or the ground beneath us is unstable, we can trust that God is our steady foundation, keeping us from harm and guiding each step with purpose. It's a deeply reassuring thought that even when we can't see ahead or understand the twists and turns of our journey, God is watching over us with a care that never falters. His guidance is not only protective, but also purposeful. He's always ensuring we are on the right path, even when we can't see the way clearly ourselves. And when things feel out of our control, We can rest in the knowledge that we are not alone. God's hand is gently steadying us, leading us towards safety. The psalm goes on to say that God neither slumbers nor sleeps, a striking reminder of his eternal vigilance. Unlike us, who need rest and sleep, God never grows tired or distracted. He is always awake, always attentive to our needs. This idea of a God who is never off duty is incredibly reassuring. In moments of vulnerability, when we might feel isolated or alone, we can trust that God is fully present, fully aware of our struggles, and fully capable of intervening in our lives. Whether it's the middle of the night when worries seem to magnify, or the busiest part of the day when we are distracted, God's care doesn't take a break. This truth is especially powerful when we consider how often we, as humans, feel overwhelmed by the demands and uncertainties of life. We may lose sleep over our problems or become anxious about the unknown, but the beautiful promise of Psalm 121 is that God, in his infinite wisdom and strength, is always watching over us, never missing a moment, never losing his grip on our lives. His eyes are ever vigilant, and he is never caught off guard by the difficulties we face. It's a constant reminder that God's protection is not limited by time, space, or our own frailty. He is always there, looking out for us, guiding our steps, and ensuring that we are not left to navigate this world on our own. These verses remind us that we can rely on God to provide the stability and security we need, no matter how unstable or unpredictable life may feel. God's protection is not just a one-time event. It's an ongoing, constant reality in our lives, available to us at all times. The comforting thought that he is never asleep, never unaware, gives us a sense of peace, knowing that no matter where we go or what we face, God's watchful eye is always upon us, guiding and guarding us with care. In verses 5 and 6 of Psalm 121, the psalmist deepens our understanding of God's protective role in our lives by describing him as our keeper and our shade at our right hand. These metaphors are rich with meaning, offering a picture of God's constant care and proximity to us, no matter where we are or what we're facing. To call God our keeper is to recognize him as our guardian, protector, and overseer. He watches over us with the attention and care of a loving parent, ensuring that we are safe, secure, and well cared for at all times. As our keeper, God's responsibility is to preserve us, to guard us from harm, and to protect us from any forces that seek to destroy or weaken us. This role isn't just about keeping us safe from physical danger. It's about ensuring our well-being in every aspect of life, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. The image of God being shade at our right hand is equally powerful. In the heat of the day, shade provides much-needed relief from the scorching sun, offering rest, protection, and refreshment. Likewise, God is our shelter in times of distress and hardship, offering comfort and relief when the pressures of life become overwhelming. His presence is as close to us as our own shadow, always there, providing refuge and protection. The psalmist emphasizes that God isn't distant or detached, but is right there beside us, shielding us from the heat of life's struggles. In this imagery, we sense God's nearness, his intimate care, and his constant willingness to be there for us when we need him most. The promise that God's protection extends throughout both day and night, the sun by day and the moon by night, adds another layer to this assurance. Whether it's the brightness and busyness of the day, or the stillness and vulnerability of the night, God is always with us, safeguarding us from harm. The sun, with its intense heat and power, represents the challenges and trials we face in the light of day, situations that can seem overwhelming or exhausting. Yet God promises to shield us from the burn of those challenges. Similarly, the moon, which often symbolizes darkness or mystery, represents the uncertainties and fears we might encounter in the night. The things that are unseen, or that trouble us when we're most vulnerable. Whether we're navigating the chaos of daytime responsibilities or the fears and worries that tend to stir up at night, God's protection covers us at all times. This idea of God's protection throughout both day and night reassures us that His care is not conditional on the time of day or the circumstances we find ourselves in. It's constant and unwavering. We don't have to worry that God will ever clock out or take a break from watching over us. His presence is with us at every hour, guarding us in the busyness of our days and in the quiet of our nights. For many of us, the night can be a time of vulnerability. When the world around us quiets down, our minds can become louder and worries can creep in. The beauty of Psalm 121 is that it reminds us that even in those moments of fear or uncertainty, God is there as our shade, protecting us from both the physical and emotional scorching that can occur when we're feeling vulnerable. And during the day, when we might be dealing with the heat of stress, work, or difficult situations, we can take comfort in knowing that God is close by, offering shade and relief. This portrayal of God as both our keeper and our shade underscores the intimate, all-encompassing nature of His protection. He is not distant or indifferent to our needs, but He is close, watching over us, caring for us, and offering His protection at every moment. Whether it's the bright light of day or the quiet darkness of night, we can rest assured that God's watchful eye is always on us, His loving care surrounding us like a protective shadow, keeping us safe from harm. In verses 7 and 8, the psalmist reiterates a profound and comforting promise that God will preserve us from all evil, guard our soul, and protect our coming and going, both now and forever. This repetition isn't just for emphasis. It serves as a reminder that God's care for us is both certain and reliable. When life feels uncertain or when we face challenges that seem beyond our control, these verses assure us that God's protective hand is steadfast and His commitment to our well-being is unwavering. The word preserve here carries a deep significance. It speaks to the idea of being kept safe, maintained, and protected from harm. It's not just about God rescuing us once, but about Him continuously safeguarding us in every moment, in every situation, no matter what. God's promise to preserve us from all evil isn't a vague or distant hope. It's a present reality that covers every aspect of our lives. Whether we face physical danger, emotional turmoil, or spiritual battles, God is there, actively protecting us from the forces that would seek to harm or destroy us. Evil may come in many forms: temptation, sickness, disaster, even the attacks of the enemy on our hearts and minds. But the assurance in this passage is that God's preservation extends over every kind of evil, shielding us from harm and preserving our integrity, our peace, and our faith. But the psalmist doesn't stop at protection from evil. He also speaks to the preservation of our soul. This is incredibly meaningful because it goes beyond the physical realm of protection to touch our spiritual well-being. God doesn't just care about keeping us safe from outward harm. He's also deeply invested in our inner lives, guarding our hearts, our thoughts, and our spirits. In a world full of distractions, struggles, and temptations, God's care ensures that our souls are kept secure, that we are not lost or overwhelmed by the pressures of life. The preservation of our soul speaks to the deep, abiding peace that only God can provide, a peace that surpasses the chaos and uncertainty around us. The psalmist then extends this promise of God's protection to our going out and coming in. This phrase captures the full scope of our daily lives, whether we are leaving our homes, heading out into the world, or returning at the end of the day. It's a reminder that God's care isn't limited to specific moments, but encompasses all the rhythms of our life, from the mundane to the extraordinary. Whether we're facing a busy day, traveling, or simply going about our routine, God is watching over us, guiding our steps, and ensuring that we are safe. There's something deeply comforting in knowing that no matter where we go, no matter how small or large the task, God is right there, preserving us from harm and protecting us from danger. The most beautiful part of this promise is that it's not just for today, but it extends from this time forth and even forevermore. God's preservation is not temporary or fleeting, it's eternal. His watchful care is not bound by time or circumstance. It stretches into eternity. No matter what comes our way, we can rest in the assurance that God's protection will never fail. Even in the face of death, loss, or the unknowns of the future, we are secure in God's care, knowing that He will preserve us, both in this life and in the life to come. This repetition of God's promise to preserve us serves to strengthen our faith and bring peace to our hearts. It's a reminder that no matter what challenges or dangers we may face, we are not alone. God is with us, protecting, preserving, and providing for us in every circumstance. This is not just a distant hope, but a living reality. It's a truth we can hold on to with confidence, knowing that the same God who promises to preserve us today will continue to do so, faithfully and reliably, throughout our lives and for all eternity. In a world where so much is uncertain, this certainty is a gift, an anchor for our souls, a source of peace that we can cling to no matter what. As we reflect on Psalm 121, we are reminded that life is full of challenges, illness, anxiety, spiritual struggles, and uncertainties can easily overwhelm us. There are moments when it feels like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, when the storms of life threaten to knock us off course. Yet Psalm 121 offers us a profound comfort. No matter what we face, God promises to preserve us and protect us. His care is not conditional on our circumstances or dependent on how strong or capable we feel. Whether we are battling physical illness, wrestling with anxiety, or experiencing moments of doubt and confusion, God's promise remains steadfast. He will be with us, guiding, guarding, and sustaining us through it all. Life often brings situations that are beyond our control, and we may feel powerless or vulnerable at times. However, the believer finds solace in the truth that we do not have to face these challenges alone. God, our keeper and protector, is always by our side, watching over us. Even in moments of fear or doubt, we can lean on the certainty that God's protection extends far beyond what we can see or understand. When we are physically in danger, whether it's from accidents, illnesses, or the unpredictable nature of life, God promises to be our shield and refuge. When we are spiritually vulnerable, tempted by sin, facing doubts, or encountering the deception of false teachings, He promises to preserve our souls, keeping us safe from harm. The believer's prayer, echoing the themes of Psalm 121, becomes an act of trust, recognizing that God's protection is not just for our bodies, but for our souls. In the prayer, We acknowledge that life will always present difficulties, but we are assured that God is faithful to protect us through them. The prayer reflects a deep trust in God's power to preserve us physically and spiritually. It is a prayer that affirms God's role as our constant protector, asking for His ongoing care and intervention in every aspect of our lives. In the face of illness or injury, we trust in His protection. In the face of anxiety, we trust that He will bring peace. In moments of spiritual attack, we trust that He will guide us back to truth and faithfulness. Moreover, the prayer also calls for a sense of peace in God's faithfulness. Even when we don't have all the answers, even when we are in the midst of trials, we can be confident that God's protective care will not fail us. We might not always understand why things happen or why we must face certain struggles, but we can trust that God's ultimate plan for us is good. His faithfulness is not just in the past or the present, but extends into the future, where He will continue to preserve and protect us forever. His care is not fleeting or temporary, but eternal. The psalmist in their prayer ends with praise and thanksgiving, acknowledging that God is not only a protector, but also a faithful and loving God who deserves all honor and reverence. The acknowledgement of God's faithfulness and trustworthiness moves the believer into a posture of worship, as they reflect on the countless ways God has already preserved and protected them. This kind of prayer is not just a request for help, but a declaration of confidence in God's constant, unchanging nature. It is an expression of deep gratitude for His promises and His presence in our lives. As believers, we are called to remember God's faithfulness, especially in times of difficulty. Psalm 121 reminds us that no matter what we face, whether it's external trials like illness, accidents, or societal pressures, or internal struggles like doubt, anxiety, or spiritual battles, God is with us. He is our keeper, our shade, our constant companion who is always watching over us, never sleeping or slumbering, and always ensuring our safety. Our prayer becomes an act of surrender, recognizing that we are not in control, but that we trust in a God who is. When we feel overwhelmed, we turn to Him as our refuge. When we are exhausted, we find rest under the shade of His protection. And when we are unsure, we trust that He is guiding us, preserving us, and holding us close through every moment of our lives. Just as the psalmist concludes with praise, we too can close our prayer with a heart full of gratitude, trusting that God's faithful protection will carry us through this life and into eternity. In the midst of everything life throws our way, we can always rest in the assurance that God is faithful to preserve and protect us. His care is unchanging, His presence is constant, and His promises are sure. When we place our trust in Him, we can face each day with peace, knowing that we are never alone and that He is with us, now and forevermore. Psalm 121 is a powerful declaration of faith, filled with reassurance and peace for anyone who faces the trials and uncertainties of life. The psalmist begins by acknowledging that the source of true help and protection comes from God, the Creator of heaven and earth. This foundational truth sets the tone for the entire psalm. When we find ourselves in need of help, we look to the Lord, who has the power and authority to protect us in every circumstance. As the psalm progresses, it paints a beautiful picture of God's constant care. One of the most comforting aspects of this psalm is the assurance that God never sleeps or slumbers. Unlike us who need rest and can grow tired or distracted, God is always vigilant, always watching over us, ensuring that we are safe. Whether it's the middle of the night, when we're most vulnerable, or the busyness of the day when we're preoccupied with life's demands, God's eyes are always upon us, guiding and protecting us every moment. The psalmist also describes God as our keeper, a word that implies someone who guards, protects, and watches over something precious. God is not only keeping us from physical harm, but He is also keeping our souls safe, guarding us from spiritual dangers, from sin, doubt, and anything that could lead us astray. His protection extends far beyond what we can see or feel. It reaches deep into the unseen spiritual realm, ensuring that we remain anchored in Him even when the world around us seems unstable. This theme of God's protection is emphasized even further as the psalmist repeats the promise that God will preserve us from all evil, guard our soul, and protect our comings and goings, both now and forever. It's a promise that extends beyond the fleeting troubles of this world, offering us eternal security in God's care. This repetition is intentional, driving home the certainty of God's protection. No matter the situation or the time, God is faithful to keep us safe. For the believer, Psalm 121 offers a profound sense of peace and trust in God's watchful care. Life will always bring its challenges. There will be moments of fear, confusion, and danger. But this psalm reassures us that we are never alone. God's protection is not a one-time offer, but a constant reality. He is with us in every moment, whether we are going out to face the day's tasks or coming back home at night, whether we are physically safe or spiritually struggling. In every circumstance, we can trust that God is holding us close, never letting us go. The psalm invites us to place our trust in this unshakable God who is always present, always watching over us, and always keeping us safe. It reminds us that God's care doesn't waver, no matter how uncertain or difficult life may be. In the midst of hardship, when we don't have all the answers, we can rest in the assurance that God is our keeper, both now and forevermore. This is not just a promise for today, but an eternal guarantee. God's protection extends beyond this life, offering us a hope that is secure, steadfast, and eternal. Ultimately, Psalm 121 calls us to recognize God's faithfulness and to trust in His never-ending care. No matter what the future holds, no matter what dangers or fears we might face, we can be confident that we are in the hands of a God who neither sleeps nor slumbers, a God who is always near, and a God who will preserve us through it all. His love and protection are constant, and we can rely on Him now and forever.